Take back this child from wherever you bring her from. She not my daughter.
I don't know who you are.
Get out of my sight. Go!
This just the beginning of the story of Ngozi and her daughter Adiz. Let's start from the beginning where all this started the night Adiz was born. The night Adiz was born, the sky did not rest. Rain beat heavily on the zinc roof, leaking through small holes into bowls Ngozi had placed around the room. The air smelled of wet earth and fear. Push, Ngozi. Just one more, the midwife shouted. Ngozi screamed until her voice cracked, her fingers digging into the old wrapper beneath her. Then finally, the baby came. A small cry followed, but it was weak. Uneven. The midwife caught the child, but instead of smiling, her face tightened. Her hands paused mid-air. No, she muttered under her breath. Ngozi, exhausted, turned her head weakly. My baby, why are you quiet? Let me see her. The midwife hesitated. Outside, thunder cracked so loudly it shook the walls. Slowly, she wrapped the baby in cloth, but not with care. Almost like she was hiding something. Ngozi's heart began to race. Give her to me, she cried. Reluctantly, the midwife placed the baby in her arms. And that was when Ngozi saw it. The child's legs were bent unnaturally, twisted inward. One tiny arm lay still against her body, lifeless. Ngozi gasped, but she did not drop her. Instead, she pulled the baby closer, tears mixing with sweat. My child, she whispered. The midwife stepped back. This is not an ordinary child, she said quietly. You must be careful. But Ngozi shook her head slowly. No, she is mine. She kissed the baby's forehead. Her name is Adiz, she said. A king's daughter. Outside, the rain continued to fall. By morning, the story had already spread. Villages do not wait for truth, they grow their own version of it. They say the child is deformed. They say her arm does not work. It is a sign, something is wrong. Women who had planned to visit stopped at the entrance of the compound and turned back. One neighbor came with food, but when she heard the baby cry, she dropped the bowl at the doorstep. I cannot enter, she said quickly. I have children of my own. Ngozi stood at the doorway, holding Adiz, watching her walk away. Something inside her broke quietly. Obina, the child's father, returned home later that evening. He had heard. Everyone had heard. He entered the room slowly, his face unreadable. Where is the child? He asked. Ngozi sat up, holding Adiz carefully. She is here, she said. He stepped closer. For a moment, he said nothing. Then his face hardened. What is this? Ngozi's lips trembled. She is your daughter. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. No. This is punishment. Ngozi felt like she had been slapped. Do not say that. But he had already turned away. That night, Adiz cried softly, her small body restless. Obina did not sleep. At some point, he snapped. If you had listened to the elders. If you had done what needed to be done, this thing would not be here. Ngozi froze. The word hung in the air. This thing. Not child. Not daughter. Thing. From the corner, where she lay wrapped in cloth, Adiz's cries grew quieter, like even as a baby, she understood she was not wanted. Adiz grew in a house where love was not loud. She learned early. Not to cry too much. Not to ask for things. Not to expect her name to be called with warmth. She crawled while other children ran. She watched while they played. Sometimes, she smiled and tried to join them. Can I play too? She once asked, dragging herself toward them. The children went silent. Then one boy burst out laughing. With those legs, he mocked. Another girl covered her mouth, giggling. She walks like a broken goat. Someone else began to imitate her, dragging their body across the sand while others laughed loudly. Look. I'm Adiz. Then, sand hit her face. She blinked slowly. The laughter continued. She did not cry. Not there. She simply turned around and dragged herself back home. But sometimes, the worst pain was not the loud laughter. It was the quiet rejection. At gatherings, food would be shared. Plates passed from hand to hand. But when it reached Adiz, someone would say, "Give the others first, she is not going anywhere." Or, "Don't let her touch it too much." Like she was something unclean. Ngozi noticed. She always noticed. But life had worn her down. Fighting everyone every day, it drained her. Sometimes, she looked away. And that hurt Adiz more than anything else. One evening, Adiz heard voices outside. Women sat near the compound, talking freely, not knowing she could hear. That child, she should not have been allowed to grow. Children like that bring misfortune. If it were my house, I would have taken her to the river long ago. Adiz didn't understand everything. But she understood enough. That night, she lay beside her mother. "Mama," she whispered. "Yes, my child." "Am I bad?" Ngozi's breath caught. "No, never." Adiz hesitated. "Then why does everyone look at me like I should not be here?" Ngozi opened her mouth. But no words came out. Instead, she pulled her daughter close. And for the first time in a long time, she cried. There was only one person who saw Adiz differently. Mama Ifyinanya. An old widow who had nothing, but somehow gave the most. She did not flinch when Adiz touched her. Did not pity her. Did not avoid her. "You are not what they say," she told her one afternoon, under the mango tree. "People fear what they do not understand." She placed dried palm leaves in Adiz's hand. "Try." Adiz struggled. Her fingers were not strong. Her arm did not cooperate. The leaves fell apart again and again. She almost gave up. "I can't," she whispered. Mama Ifyinanya shook her head. "Not yet," she said. "But you will." And for the first time, someone waited for her to succeed. Days turned into months. Months into years. Slowly, painfully, beautifully. Adiz learned. Her baskets became neater. Stronger. Different. People began to notice. But pride is a stubborn thing. Even when they admired her work, they did not want to admit it. Still, Adiz kept going. Because she had learned something the village had not. You do not need everyone to believe in you. Just one person can be enough to start. And deep inside her, where all the pain had once lived, something new began to grow. Not anger. Not bitterness. But strength. Quiet. Unshakable strength. Years later, when people finally called her name with respect. When they knocked on her door. When they smiled like they had always known her. Adiz remembered everything. The laughter. The silence. The rejection. She did not forget. But she did not let it break her again. One evening, she sat under the same mango tree. Children played nearby. One little girl, different like she once was, hesitated at the edge. Adiz smiled and called her closer. "Come," she said gently. And this time, no one laughed. Adiz looked at the sky as the sun began to set. And softly, to herself, she said, "They tried to make me feel like I should not exist. But I stayed. And I became more than they ever imagined."